Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Universe Group PLC AGM Proceedings. Throughout this presentation, attendees will be in listen-only mode. Attendees were given the opportunity to pre-submit questions ahead of today's AGM, and the company will not be taking questions during the event itself. However, review all questions submitted today and publish responses where it's appropriate to do so. These will be available via Investor Meet Company dashboard and will be notified once they're ready for your review. We'd also like to remind you that this presentation is being recorded. I'd now like to hand you over to Andrew Blasey, Executive Chairman of Universe Group PLC. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to the 2021 AGM for Universe Group PLC. Due to the COVID pandemic and other related general restrictions on public gatherings, I'll be chairing and hosting the meeting physically here in Southampton and also electronically by way of the Investor Meet Company platform, which is something different from before, but hopefully this works. It's now just actually after 11 a.m. I'd like to open the meeting, begin by introducing my colleagues around this table. First of all, for those who don't know me, I'm Andrew Blasey, the Executive Chairman of the company. Just to go around the table then to introduce you to each of our members of the board, some of whom are new, and I'll provide some further introduction later on, starting with Neil Radley, our Chief Executive Officer.
I need to say hello.
Adrian Wilding, who's our Chief Financial Officer.
Hello.
Ivan Brooks, Non-Executive Director, hopefully you can see him. Malcolm Costa, Non-Executive Director.
Hello.
Graham Bird, new member as well, also Non-Executive Director.
Good morning, everyone.
Just in terms of the order of events, which are a little bit different this time, there are some, as you know, required formalities introducing resolutions put to shareholders in the customary format. But due to COVID, no further votes will be submitted, and at the end, I'll read out the proxy votes received by and captured by the registrars. Just moving on to the formalities now, and some of these things I need to record. There's a quorum present. Notice that the meeting has been in your hands for the requisite statutory period, so I'd ask your permission, please, to take the notice of the meeting as read. Thank you. Annual general meeting has been called for the purposes of considering and if thought fit passing the various resolutions that are set out in the notice of meeting. I'm going to read out each resolution in turn before calling for a vote. And as I've said, we have proxy votes in each case, which I'll record at the end against each of these resolutions. And there are 7 ordinary resolutions and 1 special resolution. So here we go. The first ordinary resolution is to adopt the directors' and auditors' reports, the company's balance sheet and profit and loss account, and the consolidated accounts of the company and its subsidiary undertakings for the year ended 31st of December 2020. I'm proposing that this resolution be adopted. Will a member please second the proposal? Malcolm, thank you. I would normally put the resolution to a show of hands, but as mentioned, we'll have a different arrangement around the polling of votes, which we'll come to at the end of the meeting. The second and third ordinary resolutions are to approve the reappointment of BDO LLP as auditors of the company to hold office for the period prescribed by the Companies Act 2006 and to resolve that the remuneration of the auditors for the period of their office be such sum as shall be mutually agreed between them and directors of the company. The fourth ordinary resolution is to approve the appointment of Neil Radley, your new Chief Executive Officer, as a director of the company, appointed since the conclusion of the last annual general meeting. I'd just like to say a few words about Neil, who's new. Delighted to welcome Neil to the board at Universe. He has a strong technology background, very relevant to our strategy going forward. a very specific focus on retail and commercial financial services. His background in both public and private sector jobs includes a number of important and significant growth companies, and has also taken part in fundraising for companies very successfully throughout his career. His roles include working for Barclaycard, HBOS, and Bank One International. The fifth ordinary resolution is to approve the appointment of Adrian Wilding, who is also new, Chief Financial Officer, Director of the company, also appointed since the conclusion of the last annual general meeting. Adrian, again, I'm delighted to say, joined us on the 1st of May. Very experienced CFO in both B2B and B2C financial services sectors, again, working in both listed and private equity businesses. He's done all sorts of different roles throughout his career, but very, very usefully has managed not only startup and early stage businesses that were highly innovative, but also more mature businesses, again, in sectors that are very relevant to our world, particularly in SaaS payment service processing and payments related industries, which is, as you'll be aware, a theme of this company. Prior to this, he held senior roles with Just Retirement Group PLC, Unum Limited, and Riverstone Management. The sixth ordinary resolution is to approve the appointment of Graham Bird as a new non-executive director of the company, also appointed since the conclusion of the last annual general meeting. And again, having known Graham for a number of years, I'm absolutely delighted that he decided to join our board. He's a chartered accountant by background, grew up in Deloitte, and over 20 years experience in corporate finance, particularly in public markets. He's currently the CFO of Escape Hunt PLC. He has had a career at Gresham House PLC, where he retains an association. He's a member of the investment committee for Gresham House Strategic Public Equity Funds, acting in an advisory capacity. Finally, the seventh ordinary resolution is to approve the allotment of shares by the company for possible future deployment. If passed, this resolution will give the directors authority to allot up to a certain number of shares in the company. The directors are requesting general authority to allot shares having a nominal value of up to 1/3 of the company's existing issued share capital. This is an aggregate nominal amount of £870,222. This authority renews that which was granted by shareholders at the AGM of the company held on the 30th of June last year, and is in identical form to that sought then. Again, as in previous years, this authority will last for only 15 months or until the next AGM, unless renewed at that meeting. Details of how this authority would be used is set out in a letter to shareholders last month. Briefly, it allows directors to issue a certain number of shares for cash without triggering preemption rights, but only if the board is convinced that it is in the best interests of the company. I'm proposing that these resolutions will be adopted. Will a member please second each proposal? Malcolm, thank you. And then finally, we come to the eighth and final resolution. This is conditional upon the passing of the preceding resolution. The reasons for this resolution are also set out in a note last month, and unless anyone has any objection, I won't repeat those now and instead just summarize the main features of the resolution itself. First, the authority would replace all previous such authorities and expire in 15 months from now or at the next AGM, unless renewed. It would authorize directors to allot shares for cash with triggering preemption rights, and also give the directors the power to deal with fractional entitlements or other legal and regulatory problems that might arise, for example, pursuant to a rights issue. There'd be a limit to this authority in that the maximum number of shares that could be allotted would be equivalent to an aggregate nominal value of £261,067, being about 10% of the issued share capital at the date of my letter to shareholders. I now propose, by way of a special resolution, to seek the approval of shareholders to this application of preemption rights in the terms set out in Resolution 8. Will a member please second those proposals? Thank you, Malcolm. Okay, at this point, we need to move to informing you of the proxies that have been submitted. So I'll step through each of the resolutions and provide the number in each case. So on Resolution 1, there are 138,821,139 votes in favour of the resolution from shareholders who have authorised me to act as their proxy, and 12,075 votes against. 3,072 votes have been withheld. On Resolution 2, there are 138,830,766 votes in favour of the resolution from shareholders who have authorised me to act as their proxy, and 2,871 votes against. 2,649 votes have been withheld. Moving to Resolution 3, there are 138,833,214 votes in favour of the resolution from shareholders who've authorised me to act as their proxy. In this case, no votes against. 3,072 votes have been withheld. Moving to Resolution 4, there are 138,833,184 votes in favour of the resolution from shareholders who've authorised me to act as their proxy. 453 votes against. 2,649 votes in this case have been withheld. On Resolution 5, there are 138,832,023 votes in favour of the resolution from shareholders who authorised me again to act as their proxy, and 1,614 votes against. In this case, 2,649 votes have been withheld. Moving to Resolution 6, there are 138,833,184 votes in favour of the resolution from shareholders who have again authorised me to act as their proxy, with 453 votes against. In this case, 2,649 votes have been withheld. On Resolution 7, there are 138,828,266 votes in favour of the resolution from shareholders. Again, authorised me to act as their proxy, and in this case, 1,167 votes against, with 6,853 votes withheld. Finally, on Resolution 8, there are 95,069,060 votes in favour of the resolution from shareholders who authorised me to act as their proxy. 43,760,259 votes against. 6,967 votes have been withheld. Ordinarily, polling papers would be handed out, but as I've explained, in this particular case, the process has been amended due to the conditions that I described at the outset. The articles of Universe allow me as chairman to take a poll in such manner as I direct. This will not be required today. I'm now accordingly able to confirm and declare that each of the resolutions 1 to 7 inclusive now been duly carried by reference to those proxy votes that we've just run through, cast in favour of each resolution which I have just described to you. Given the need to obtain support from members representing at least 75% of the company's shares in respect of which votes are cast, Resolution 8 has been voted down by reference to those proxies cast against that resolution and will not, in this case, therefore be carried. That now concludes the formal business of the AGM. Otherwise, we look forward to providing further updates on the group's progress in due course. I thank everyone for attending, and again, respect the fact that these are unusual times still, and the mode of this engagement is probably somewhat unusual for many people, but nevertheless, we thank everybody for that engagement. I'd like to ask the Company Secretary to be asked to release to the London Stock Exchange today the announcement in the form previously agreed, and also arrange for a copy of the share allotment resolution passed today to also be registered with Companies House. At this point, what I'd like to do is to hand over to Neil, just to give a brief presentation of the company, and then I'll return at the end to wrap things up. So, Neil, over to you.
Thank you. Andrew, thank you very much. And if I may kick off by saying a thank you to Andrew as chairman, the rest of the board, and I think I speak on behalf of Adrian as well for making this feel so welcome and being very supportive in these early days. I should also say thank you to the shareholders who have been similarly supportive, and indeed the colleagues here at Universe Group, both in Southampton and in Dublin. I have to say we've been very impressed by that passion for the business and the desire for the business to succeed in the long term. So that's been very gratifying. I should secondly say that today we're not giving any future forecasts, so we will not be giving you any sort of outturn for the 2021 results. And indeed, we're in the middle of a strategic review. Adrian and I joined, as you may recall, on the 1st of May, and have therefore just been in situ for around about 8 weeks. We're obviously coming to form some conclusions, but as you would expect, we would need to get board approval for strategy and outlooks, and we have committed to the market that we'll come back in September with those public pronouncements. So really this first slide is to say that the strategic work is well underway, and we're working with an external third party to help us formulate some thoughts and challenge us with preconceptions and inform us of external market environment. We are naturally focusing on the 3 legs of what I call the 3 legs of the Universe stool. It's focusing on enterprise management systems, payment solutions, and data analytics, which obviously includes kind of the loyalty platform that we provide to clients. The business is currently UK centric. There is some business in Ireland and a little bit in mainland Europe. And traditionally we have operated in the petrol forecourt convenience store market, and we again are just gradually moving into the wholesale market over the last year or so. And as you might expect, the questions we're asking are those articulated on the slide, which are, where do our products sit in relation to the competition? What are other interesting verticals that we should consider selling our products into? And indeed, can we take advantage of our small footprint in the wider European market, and should we expand into that market? We'll also look at the size of customer. We at the moment range from large multinationals through down to individual one outlet convenience store operators. And not unsurprisingly, we will look at both the organic and inorganic growth opportunities. If you moved on to the second slide, as I said, we will come back to the market with the conclusion of that work and some of the key themes in September, but it's not as if the business is not doing anything between now and September. We are in parallel undertaking a number of activities We call it internally the Trident strategy, and it's focused on people, products, and performance. It's really about turbocharging all the good things that exist within the business, enhancing the propositions, making sure that our colleagues are focused on the right outcomes, and obviously making sure that we are working towards the right KPIs. We have put a new operating framework in place, and that's working very smoothly. It's enabling the business to work more swiftly. It's about ensuring we've got the right prioritization, and obviously, hopefully, all of that will lead to the right outcomes. I'll probably draw a halt to my comments there, just to remind everybody we will communicate the strategy and 2021 outturn in the September timeframe. Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. Just a couple of comments, I suppose, for me to wrap up for everybody. I mean, obviously, everybody on this call and certainly around this table is hoping that our lives will be improving very shortly with the release of some of the restrictions that have held us back through the pandemic. And, I think we remarked last year, but I'd remark again that in a business that serves retail, that creates a level of unusual stress commercially and in every other way of working that I just commend everybody in this business for having worked through. And just like to say that we're incredibly impressed with the way everybody here has responded to that. Secondly, I again like to welcome the newcomers around this table. It's great to bring in new blood to look at a business like ours. It's great to get fresh ideas, and Neil and Adrian and Graham are already coming along with lots of interesting and exciting ways, as Neil says, we can turbocharge this business. Thirdly, I think you've seen in some of the announcements that we've released that we have, through all of the difficulties of the COVID marketplace, managed to retain and secure some important business, some of the important, very important clients for us. And again, I commend everybody for having secured that continuing loyalty to our brand and to our business. And finally, just pick up on Neil's point about strategy, where we are excited to be embarking on some new strategic thinking about this business, where we're using some expert minds to help us do that, and looking forward to reporting back to everybody, shareholders, in due course once that process concludes. So that's really all I wanted to say from my side. Thank you very much.
Andrew, thank you very much indeed. And Neil, thank you very much for your presentation to update investors there. Can I please ask attendees not to close this session? You'll be automatically redirected for the opportunity to provide your feedback in order that the management team can better understand your views and expectations. This will only take a few moments to complete, but will be greatly valued by the company. On behalf of the management team of Universe Group PLC, we'd like to thank you for attending today's session. That concludes the AGM. Thank you.